This Week in Post, it's another unscripted, uncut live edit. Hi everyone, I'm Scott Davenport and welcome to In Post. Today, diving straight in, we're going to do a live edit. Earlier in the week, I showed you a photo from Stump Beach up in Northern California, trying out the MePhoto tripod. I'm going to take the photo I took right from that shoot there, and we're going to go ahead and process it straight away. So I've got the photo loaded in Lightroom. Let's go. First thing is just an image assessment here, and I can already tell this is going to be a little tough. There's not a lot of color separation. There's not a lot of color. This was taken, early morning, but well after sunrise, so a lot of the color been washed out. And I am seeing, like in the lower corners here, let me turn this cursor guy on here, some bright spots and these rocks and so forth. That's distracting. I do like the sweep of the water. I'm going to see about seeing if we can take some of these yellow tones, make those a little darker, and this may end up going black and white, depending on how well we get with the color. So I think the very first thing, very first thing, turn on lens corrections. Oh, it's already on. Great. Next is going to be dealing with a crop. And so I want to do two things here. One is double check the angle. Just do a quick auto on that. And that is looking okay. Let's sanity check that and temper it with that line back in the ocean there. It's probably more right about that spot. And I'm going to bring it in from the lower left corner, really just to eliminate these bright rocks here. They're not really adding much to the scene. I can shift over a little bit. I will pick up these logs here and kind of chopping off this bit of rock over there. Watching that spot there. Let's take a little nudge that, sliver that off, and then shift back up toward the top. That's going to be pretty good. We'll take that. So let's see, double check that. Don't like what happened in the lower right corner. We'll bring it back out a little bit. As opposed to trying to start nudging that away, we'll just take a little bit more of it and probably end up darkening that with a vignette. So, okay, basics. Let's get into that. Exposure looks good. We've got a lot of distribution there already. So let's just double check our white and black points. White point, good. We already have our spectral highlights bouncing off some logs. Black is pretty much there. I'm going to just reset that out. So contrast. Actually, I'm going to hit the V key, give our first taste of black and white as I work the contrast. And that's helping a lot. Just adding the contrast is going to get that separation of the water, the hills from the sand. So that's a help. V again to turn that back off. And shadows, I will open those up a little bit. That's mostly for the background. There's a bit of haze up here, so I'm already thinking of some dehazing. Bring down the highlights a little. And that's helping some. We still got a couple of hot spots highlight-wise on these these logs here. Clarity, add a touch of that, not too much. Let's play with vibrance for a minute, and really I'm kind of watching the background to see if those greens are coming up. The foreground's getting too vibrant and the yellows are becoming green, and I don't like that, but I like what's happening in the background. So I think we'll do that with an adjustment, or a gradient filter, rather, not an adjustment, a gradient. Let's go ahead and drag that down. Dehaze happens to already be up from some previous photo I must have been working on. That's cool. I don't have vibrance in here, which is a bummer, but I'll nudge saturation up a little bit. This is an area I'd love Lightroom to improve. Give me vibrance in here. Give me control over the individual channels. That would be a big plus. So that's helpful. I think now I'm going to go visit hue, saturation, luminance. And where my brain is I'm looking at these patches of sand here. Those are pretty hot. And so I want to tone those down. Let's start with luminance. I'll use the little magic double-headed arrow. Yeah, sure enough, that's in the yellows area. And let's reduce that brightness. And let's see what that did before and after. That's quite helpful. That's probably a little bit too much. Let's roll that back up a little bit. What else? I'm going to hit V again, and I'm going to double check this. This is a black and white instead. I'm enjoying it more as black and white, to be honest. I think I'm going to stick with with black and white. Yeah, so okay, pause. Why am I thinking going black and white? So look at this in color. The color isn't really adding to the story of this photo. And the story is this little tributary leading off into a cove, and then there's the big ocean beyond it. So as I look at this in color versus black and white, the black and white feels to me even a little bit stronger. I don't have the distraction of color, and it's not that the color is bad or anything, but there's not a lot of it, and there's not a particularly bold splash of color either in the foreground or something that's immediately led to by this, this leading line of this little bit of river here. So I think I'm going to stick with black and white. Now, let's start doing a little more play with the black and white. We're going to darken some of that orange. Actually, for black and white, now I actually almost want to take it back up. Let's go ahead and brighten it. Just use the slider directly. And then, let's see, what tone am I getting down here? I'm getting blues down here. So I'm going to darken the blues, and that should help with the sky as well. Starting to see a couple of dust spots up there. Greens and yellows here, that's okay. We have a graduated filter already in place. Let's take a look and revisit that. As now I may want to open those shadows up a little bit just in the background and increase the amount of, let's see, what's the haze doing? It's just kind of hazy back there. All right, let's add a little clarity, get some richness back in there. I think next is going to end up being some dodging and burning. I'm going to revisit basics now and check the highlights again. That should help with our sides. Okay, this is getting to the point of being, it's all right. As I said at the top, this is going to be a challenging photo to come away with something incredibly compelling. But we're in it this far. Let's go ahead and finish things off. I think what I will do next is some brushing. Let's get a brush and reset all of these sliders. I want to downplay exposure and highlights, and I'm going to start brushing away some of the areas of sand. So let's make my brush big. I'm going to turn off this blue cursor here for a bit and start to brush in these areas here. That spot, and what's my brush set to? Feather's okay. All right, flow and density are pretty high, so I'm getting a good amount coming out of the brush already. Tone down some of that sand over there. And tone down some of this here. Brush a little bit smaller. That across the back. Just a little bit there. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. What's that done for me so far? Before and after. All right, it's taken the heat off of those areas. I need more detail and punch in this foreground here. So let's get a new brush. And we'll switch over to... Let's add a little more contrast, a little more clarity. Let's start with those settings and see how we do. We can always adjust those higher later. So now, kind of brushing and really not hitting everything, but trying to make a bit of a almost a little curve going on here to get the eye moving in this direction through the frame. And we'll take a look at what I've sweeped over just to see. It's a lazy curve. And because there are just a few crisper elements, those things will catch the eye. Now let's play with the sliders. If I pop clarity up a whole bunch, it's actually not too terrible. Black and whites, I like them to be a bit punchier. All right, cool. I think I want to do the same thing in the background, but I will use a new brush. I'll start with these clarity and contrast settings here, and just to get some more detail on the back so that this photo has some depth, right? Do that, and perhaps now tweaking that clarity up a little bit. All right. What's that looking like? Did I hit all the major spots? They're pretty good. Okay. Let's see. One more thing. This rock still feels very hot. So another new brush. We're going to take exposure down even further. We'll take highlights down, and really just to focus on this corner rock over here to try to just tone that down a little bit so it's not grabbing the eye so much. And we'll just kind of cover most of that rock. Okay. Pretty good. What else? What else? Let's try one more brush. I'm kind of getting a little bit crazy with the dodging and burning here, but it's kind of fun. This will be just for highlights, and the idea here is to, and actually, maybe, where's my detail and my sharpness here? There's my sharpness. Just to get the brighter sides of these hill faces to jump out a little bit. Again, the idea being a little bit more depth. All right. Okay. And those guys there. Just some relatively lazy brush strokes. Good on that. Let's check out effects for a vignette. I don't have to worry about color because I don't have any color here. All right, vignette. Pretty healthy. Let's take the feather down for a minute so we can see where this vignette is. Let's play with the roundness a little bit. I kind of want to lead the lead through the center of this, and so I'll really make this round, and midpoint right about there. As I increase the feather, you're going to see the vignette fade inward and outward, and that's, that means that size was pretty good. All right, what's that look like before and after? Wait for Lightroom to catch up here. Oh, come on, Lightroom. Did it catch up? Did it do anything? There it goes. Gosh. Okay. Last but not least, I did see a couple of dust spots up in here. So Q, and then I'm going to use the A key to toggle this visualize spots down here. And there was a couple of them right here. 1, 2, and maybe that one is there. It could be construed as a spot, so we'll take care of it. Q key to turn that off. All right, let's take a quick look at before and after. So \key, this is what we started with. This is what we finished with. I think it's a stronger photo. I think at this stage I'm pretty much done, mainly because there's only so much processing you can do to a photo to improve it. At a certain point, you got to really look at it for what it is, and this is okay. And if this were a stronger photo, or if there was some more dramatic light going on, I'd probably spend even more time with dodge and burn, take care of some of the hot spots, these logs in the foreground. A couple of guys like this one here and this here. They're not blown out, but they're just a little bit lacking in detail, and filling some of that in would be a little better. This flat rock here doesn't have a lot of detail, but it's catching light. And I'm not 100% sold on how bright this side of the frame is. But in the end, this is an okay photo, and I'm not going to invest further time in this. I'll find another photo to really invest my time in that's like super duper. So for a tip of the week, post-processing can't solve everything for your photos. This is an okay photo, and the processing, whether I stayed in color or whether I went in black and white, is going to make things a little better, but it's not going to make the photo great. Right? There's limitations on what post can do. It can improve things, but it's not going to change my composition. It's not going to make the light that was on scene better. There's just only so far you can go with the photo. I mean, if you saw this one scrolling through your Instagram feed, you'd spend, a second on it and move on. But it's not going to grab and pull you in. And I don't know if there's any processing magic that I could do here to make that true. Right? It's an all right scene. And that'll do it for this week in post. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, let me know somehow. Comments, questions are always welcome. Social shares are always appreciated. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Happy shooting.